Okay, so I didn't find the tool. I didn't find it. He found it. Where did he find it? He found it right where I was looking. But I just wasn't looking hard enough, as it were. Put this filter back on this damn thing. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're going to be installing the actual spring isolators for the front springs. The tool I was talking about.
Okay, well, we're not going to film eating dinner.
It's right here. It's made by Maximum Motorsports. And what?
This is not easy.
Yes.
I don't even think it's going to be easy using that tool, but okay.
Here,
I'll
open
be
that.
eternally grateful if it works.
It definitely holds the spring in place from the previous time I used it. Okay, so here it is. That's it. It comes up through the bottom of the control arm. It clamps onto the actual spring and holds it in place while you're jacking the control arm up. You don't have to worry about that flying out at you.
Come down, why don't we?
So, as of right now, he's getting ready to drop said control arm.
There goes all that.
And all the sway bar link, but
That's what I wanted.
just let's see.
Put that on there for that.
All right. This is the part that makes my butt pucker. Okay, there we go.
Lowering spring.
Lots of tension in those.
Man, you know, I did those isolators years back. Remember when I did my coupe?
Yeah.
My coupe I had? I did those isolators way back. And didn't have a special tool to put those lowering springs in. Ouch.
Smash Thumb. That's his nickname.
Wow. That's my nickname.
Smash Thumb.
Smash thumb.
No, Smash Thumb. It sounds
Here,
cool.
give me those isolators. I hope this works, because not only did it take my glove, it took my skin too.
It happens.
And that wasn't even under a whole lot of pressure.
That just shows you exactly how much tension is built into those
I still don't think
springs.
this is gonna work. If this works, this tool's ingenious. And we should have came up with it and patented it and made millions of dollars.
Well, unfortunately, Maximum Motorsports had unlimited funding back in the day. And they did it first.
Okay. I need that Silglide. That's going to help with getting...
I'm going to bet that it is on top of the toolbox.
I don't think it is. That is carried away. Right here.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. That'll do ya. Now some of you are saying, why would you put these on? Because doesn't it raise the suspension of the car? Well, initially it does. It really doesn't raise it that much because the spring is only going to sit on here. Once you have this in, that thickness is all that it's going to sit on. So, but not only that, I'm tired of these things clunking and rattling and making noise when I go down the road and go over bumps. So now it just becomes, I already had this fucker on once. This is not easy to put on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Disclaimer. Our daddy was a sailor, so there will be swearing. This is definitely an 18 plus channel. FYI.
Maybe we should.
It's too late. We've already established this.
Oh man, this is not easy to get on there. Can you go get my dead blow?
Dead blow. Oh, I always forget what drawer what is in. There it is. Every time.
I don't even know if this is going to work, but these are not. I remember I did them here at the house that night with soapy water, and it was just not easy to get these on there. What is it? Oh.
Amateur chefs, barbecuers, sporters, snackers, bakers, and microwavers. Smiths, you can get all the fresh you want.
Polyurethane for you. Has no give.
Fresh for everyone.
Smiths is now hiring, with immediate openings available to help keep our stores open and stocked. Apply today at jobs.kroger.com.
On behalf of the New Mexico.
There it goes.
During this time of social isolation,
I'm gonna need those rags.
Like a blind man in an orgy. He's gonna have to feel things out. Get a couple rags.
Well, anyways, even though a lowered car is not the most comfortable thing in the world, these actually do help. Before, my car had factory struts, factory bushings, and factory everything in it. And just doing the struts and the ball joints and all that stuff made a world of difference in how the car rides. I mean, it was just amazing. Almost there.
You heard him, folks. He's almost there.
Here, I'm going to cover up their name. So Glide. If any of you are watching this and you know who it is, if they want to
Well, show the
pay
people.
me,
Show him.
I'm not going to show them.
Why not?
Because the parts store needs to pay me for using their name in
Well,
our videos.
Well, all right. Well,
Just kidding. It's Napa. We're going to be crediting some places for parts sourcing, by the way. Necessary stuff and little things that, you know, I'll be honest with you guys, LMR is fantastic about bringing out little things that help you with swaps so you don't have to go, great, now what? You know, I'll show you one. 'Cause it's laying right here.
well, for the people who don't know what LMR stands for, what is
Oh,
it?
right. Yeah, late model restoration.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so this is the adapter that they have. Now, you might be able to get this thing at any Lowe's or whatever, but I'm not going to spend the time to go searching for it. But basically what that does is it adapts one of those 5-lug brake hoses, the Cobra brake hoses, to the Fox hard lines. So you don't have to cut and re-flare a line to get it to work. So, fantastic. You know, same as this. When I did my first 5-lug, there's those spacers there go between the ball joint castle nut and the spindle, because the SN95 spindles, Fox ball joints, do fit these, but they go all the way down to the point where the threads stick all the way up. And you can't put the nut all the way on and have it be secure. So those spacers are for that. There's other things too that a late model has, and you know, we're big customers there. I'm sure they probably know us by now, but we buy pretty much everything from them. Now there's other places I source parts from because I'm it's not that I don't like LMR, it's just my budget dictates. I try to fit everything into one budget. So, you know, I go to National Parts Depot, I go to CJ Pony Parts and American Muscle. And I just try to find the best deal I can so I can say, okay, well, you know, like this, for example, I needed all this stuff to do my 5-lug, so I had to source it from other areas because another place, you know, LMR, I put it all in the cart, didn't quite fit my budget. I didn't have enough money. So I had to take things out of my cart and stuff as I went shopping at different websites. So I do a lot of crediting for LMR. I do a lot of credit towards CJ Pony Parts, and I do a lot of credit towards National Parts Depot. You know, so I do what my budget dictates. Now, if I was like Moneybuck sitting there holding that phone and videotaping me do all this work,
Me. Money bucks.
Moneybuck,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I would buy everything from LMR, but I just can't. So I just want to get this to where the coil spring is just starting to peek through that bushing there. Now this one just goes on top. And then what this does basically is it isolates your springs from rattling in the front end of the car when you're driving down the road. I don't know how many of you are driving a lowered car, but when you hit bumps and stuff, you kind of get this real heavy knocking in the front, and that's your springs bouncing around in the cups because there's nothing there to isolate them for that noise. Now, if you're fine with the noise, then by all means, but, you know, I'm done with it. I'm tired of listening to it. So, plus, I feel like all it does is beat my control arm to death.
That's a very real possibility.
Here's another advertisement for free to Mountain Dew. 0 sugar.
Yuck.
Tastes just like Mountain Dew.
I can't drink it though. I'll have a seizure.
Well,
But to anyone else that likes 0 sugar, he swears by it. So, yeah, go for it.
just got to be careful when I lift this control arm. I don't want to break my, you know, that nipple off there. Off
The greaser.
yeah, I don't want to break that off. That would suck. Okay, so we're going to try this tool out, and we're going to see if it works like advertised. So
In goes the spring.
I'm gonna have to drop that control arm way down. By the way, I got polyurethane bushings here, so this is gonna make it. Yeah, I don't see how this is gonna work. Jesus, that control arm gonna have to pivot way down if it even can. I don't know about this, bro. I don't know. It's a good idea, but I can't even. I'm gonna have to get the spring up and over that cup and hold it in place while this tool goes in. And
Well,
that
here, let me see if I can
is not easy.
snake down in here.
So basically, we're going to show you this, how this sets up in there, just in case we got to stop the video and restart. But this goes right in there like that, and basically holds the spring in place like that. So just in case we got to stop this here video.
Oh no, I'll just set the phone off to the side. They can watch concrete.
You can't do that to your viewers. Please read the instructions. Okay. Alright, so install tool into opening nut adjacent to inboard side of opening. So Install the MM spring tool in the circular opening at the center of the lower spring perch. The welded on nut should face up and be adjacent to the inboard side of the opening. The bottom of the tool has a thin circular locating feature that should be recessed into the opening when properly installed. Okay. Okay. So there's that thing they're talking about that should be located in there just like that. And we're just gonna take and thread this onto the back side. Maybe this might be easier than I thought. I don't know.
Can I say you're about to find out?
You may.
Because it worked for me pretty good when I first did my springs. When
Yeah, but you just
up in
did
Iowa.
springs, right? You didn't use isolators.
I don't recall. I think maybe I reused the factory ones that were still left.
I'll just kind of bump this little. By the way, Makita makes great stuff, but this thing is not very strong, so don't rely on it to do a lot of things. But this will work for what we want. Okay. I always read the instructions on everything when I've never used it before. Hand tighten bolt, pivot the control arm down so that it's perpendicular to the ground. Make sure that the welded on nut is still oriented adjacent to the inboard side of the lower spring perch. Tighten the bolt. Okay. Install the upper and lower spring isolators onto the spring. Use factory replacement parts or contact Maximum Motorsports for urethane, which is what I'm using, urethane spring isolators. And the reason why I use urethane is because urethane really doesn't wear out. You just can't lubricate it with conventional grease. So you know, some of you probably know that your rear control arms, aftermarket control arms, come with polyurethane bushings and grease zerks. Well, you can't use standard wheel bearing grease because it destroys polyurethane. So you have to use marine grease, you know, that real sticky stuff that comes from whomever, Prothane and stuff like that, that real sticky clear grease. That's what you have to use. So just a FYI. Anyways, let's see, tighten the nut, install spring into upper spring perch. The hole closest to the end of the spring perch pocket must remain uncovered once the control arm is raised into position. By leaving one of these holes uncovered, water will be allowed to drain out of the spring pocket. So when you're driving your car around and stuff, and you can see these holes right here, you can't block that hole off, because if water collects inside here, all it does is rust your control arm and your spring out. So if you leave that hole open, any water that gets in there from the roadway can drain out the bottom. Okay. So isolator removed for clarity. There it says right there. There's your drain holes. So your pigtail of your spring, which is the bottom of the coil right there, can't block that hole. So isolator removed for clarity. Correct pigtail orientation. Press upwards and inwards on the bottom of the spring so that it slides up onto the Maximum Motorsport spring installation tool and is seated in the lower spring pocket. Ooh, so we're gonna have to get and then jack the control arm up. Like, that'll be easy. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have to go like this, and then I'm gonna have to get a pry bar and we pry it up onto that tool. Perfect.
Ay, my
Sorry.
phone.
Sorry.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. I think that's where it's going to need to be. Oh my gosh. Very easy.
Let's see if I can prop this phone out.
Can you imagine I did this at home in mom's carport when I was younger? No help and no tools to do this with. And I got my spring isolators. You might have to operate the primer.
So I need to get that up and over, right?
Yeah, but you can't dry right there.
You're gonna have to go.
You might have to jack the car up higher too. No. The tool's a great idea. I just don't think this is going to do what we want it to. Nope, it's got to go over and behind that. That's the thing. So try to push it on Mr. Foot, baby. Well, what do you think? Is that gonna?
Well, the springs clocked around because it's gonna cover.
Sure, it's gonna cover them. We won't know until we.
Start jacking it up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look
That's
there.
how it's gonna go. Yeah.
So maybe once we start jacking it up, it's gonna rotate.
I don't know if that's gonna sit right or not. We would just have to try it. I don't know. That's a lot of work though to try that. And if it doesn't work, we have to. This is not easy to rotate that, and I can't spray it with penetrate now because it would destroy the urethane. All the urethane. Either that or we pull it out and then start again. Careful. I'm under pressure now. A little bit.
I think that's gonna be all right. We want to try jacking it up.
We can, but we're gonna have to. That's not gonna be right. See that? It's gonna either line right up and block that hole, or it's gonna set up here.
Well, drop her down. Start off that way. I'll ask crooked.
Okay. Well, that might be all right. Get the jack under it. But stay away from my grease zerk. I have to lower the jack maybe a little bit. Okay. If it blocks that hole, I know in the interest of doing it correctly, but if it blocks that hole, screw it. Because trying to orientate it right is going to be quite difficult.
No, it might just settle in place. If you want to move, or just in case purposes.
Remember, that's your only phone. Hold on. Hold on. That's right up against my grease zerk. Don't worry, the tool's going to hold it all together.
Just let the little turn.
Here, bring it out some. Lower it down more, can you? Or is that it?
That's it.
Okay, bring the jack towards the...
Let's see.
Okay, just try that. I'm really gonna move out of the way now.
Yeah, I'd say so. Ooh,
What?
that freaking control arm's coming out of that cup. See it?
Yeah. Just keep going and see what happens. 'Cause we might have to reorient that spring anyways because it might not sit down in its
I'm not
perch.
going that one more pump.
Okay, drop it down. Might have to take my grease zerk out real quick. Keep going. Let's see if that's an 8 or a 9.
Well, folks, this is going to take a little bit more than we thought, but I will make another video as soon as we get everything set up correctly, and I will let you know. We'll be right back.